Hello everybody. At least once a week I am contacted by somebody who wants to be healed of their carpal tunnel syndrome or tendinitis. And I do have the ability to heal people of those maladies. However, not everybody has the capability of healing themselves from those maladies. Some people don't have the patience to heal. Some people don't have the intelligence to heal. While other people don't have the capacity to heal themselves because they just lack awareness of their body. I'm not going to make this video in an attempt to heal people, but to show people what they need to do to begin to heal themselves. And I can't cover all of the issues of what causes carpal tunnel syndrome and tendinitis, but I can cover some of the main movements that cause the issues to manifest. There are actually several movements that go into playing the piano or typing on a keyboard, and a lot of people do a lot of things wrong. There are actually several movements which go into playing a piano or typing, and a lot of people do them incorrectly, and that's what leads to the issue of repetitive stress disorders. And it's not repetition that's the problem, it is actually misuse which is the problem. And the other problem is when you go see a doctor, the doctor treats the symptom and not the actual problem. And the problem, as I said, is misuse. So if you misuse your arms, the treatment that the doctor offers is not going to solve the problem. It's just going to treat the symptom, which will actually never go away because you're going to keep going on with the same problem movement. So let's address some of these movement issues. So while playing the piano, there is a movement of the arm called the walking arm. And pretty much what it does is it prevents people from twisting and bending their wrist. If you bend your wrist to the right, that's called ulnar deviation, because this is the ulnar side. If you bend your wrist to the left, that's called radial deviation, because this is the radial side. If you bend your wrist too far up, that's called dorsiflexion. If you bend your wrist too far down, that's called flexion. There are many things wrong with bending the wrist that way. And I'll cover a couple of them, but I can't cover them all. If you were to take a rope and one person was to pull this way and the other pull this way, the rope just goes back and forth effortlessly and there's no problem. Now let's say you have, say, the roof of a house. This is the apex. And you take that rope and you lay it over the roof, and one person is here pulling and the other person is here pulling, and you pull back and forth. What's going to happen is the rope is going to grind into the roof. Well, that same thing happens with your tendons running through the carpal tunnel. So if you flex your flexor muscles, they pull the fingers down. If you extend or flex your extender muscles, they pull the fingers up. It's really just a pulley system. As these muscles flex, they pull the tendons, and the tendons are attached to several different points of the finger, and they pull this way. You extend, they extend this way. Keep in mind you can't extend and flex at the same time. However, people, pianists and typists and people who play games, find ways to do that, and we'll talk about those later. So when you flex your muscles, your long flexor tendons flex. People don't realize, but the tendons glide back and forth, and when you flex and bend your wrist at the same time, like the rope over the roof, you are grinding into the nerve and other tissues. The other problem is when you twist your wrist to the left or the right. If you were to take a coat hanger and bend it back and forth several times, it would get warm and eventually break. The tendon is surrounded by a sheath, and within that sheath is a lubricant called synovium fluid, and that synovium fluid allows the tendon to glide in the sheath effortlessly. When you bend the wrist back and forth, eventually you can develop cracks in the tendon sheath, and synovium fluid can leak out, and you'll get what are called ganglion cysts because the fluid irritates tissue it's not supposed to be in. So how do we avoid bending the wrist and twisting the wrist? It's easy. You just stop doing it. There is an old movie called Karate Kid where Miyagi teaches the Karate Kid to wax on, wax off. Well, that same principle applies to the walking arm. When a pianist plays, they may, if their hand is here and they want to reach a note up here, they may twist their wrist to reach up, and they may twist this way too. That's really bad because it breaks the fulcrum of the wrist. It breaks the alignment of the wrist. Electricity likes to pass from point A to point B. And if you get in the way of point A and point B, well, you're going to get in serious trouble. Same thing happens with the arm. All of the energy of the back and the shoulder and the arm and the elbow and the forearm, all that energy passes through the forearm, passes through the wrist, through the hands, through the knuckle, through the fingers, through the fingertip, into the key. If anything gets in the way of that energy, that's the location where you're going to have serious problems. So if you twist the wrist, if you bend the wrist or flex the wrist, all the energy is coming through the arm and it's going to hit the wrist. That's where the damage is going to eventually occur. All you need to do is maintain the walking arm. If you are washing a window, you have the cloth in hand and you just wash the window like this. And where does all the energy come from? The shoulder and the elbow. You don't use the wrist at all. If you are writing on a chalkboard, you hold the chalk in your hand, and if you're to make a circle, well, the circle is made by the elbow and the shoulder, not the wrist. Some people vacuum from the wrist, believe it or not. You don't do that. You vacuum from the shoulder or the back. You use the legs to push and pull the vacuum cleaner, not the wrist. These are places where people make mistakes. So in twisting, to avoid the twisting, if you want to go from here to here, you don't twist to reach it. You just move your hand up to it. Instead of the finger dragging the arm and the hand behind it, use the hand and the arm to place the finger where it needs to be. Very simple concept, and it works. It saves the wrist. The same thing happens when people use a keyboard. They may twist to reach specific keys. So if I'm typing, I'm not going to use my wrists to reach certain keys. I'm just going to type and use the arm to place my fingers where they need to be. It's quite simple. The other problem with the arm is that people use wrist rests, or they lay their arms on a table. Well, the arm is intended to be floating and moving. That's why we have strong bicep muscles. Using a mouse is also dangerous because you flatten the finger and you press down on the mouse button with the finger and tendon flat, and you lose the fulcrum, you lose the power. The hand is designed for this kind of motion, not this motion. And if you use this motion, you're going to injure the long flexor tendon. So when you want to press the button of a mouse, your hand should not be resting on a table and resting on the mouse. It should be hovering over the mouse. So if you have your mouse in your hand, don't rest your hand and arm on the table, but instead have the mouse in your hand and hover over the mouse, and then you move the mouse with your whole hand and not with your wrist. And if you want to press the button of the mouse, then you press it from the elbow and you forward shift into it. Don't lay your finger flat on the mouse button and press it like that, because you're adding a lot of strain and stress to the long flexor tendon. Every motion has an equal and opposite motion. So if I were to swing a golf club, I would back swing and forward swing. If I was to swing a baseball bat, I would back swing and forward swing. If I were to cast a fishing pole, back swing, forward swing. If I was swinging a tennis racket, back swing, forward swing. Every movement has an equal and opposite movement. If you were walking, as the right hip goes forward, the left shoulder goes forward. As the left shoulder goes forward, the right shoulder goes forward. As the right hip goes forward, the left hip goes backward. As you walk forward, as I step forward with my right foot, my left foot is pressing backwards so that I can go forward. Every motion has an equal and opposite motion. Once you understand that, playing the piano and typing is the same thing. In order to play down on the piano, you have to go up, because it's the weight of the arm that plays the key. My arm is playing the key, my finger is not. If I was to use the tiny muscles of my finger to play the key, I would hurt my hand. It's the up motion that gives my arm the weight to play down. And if your arm is static and stagnant on the key, you have no up to go down, and then you're going to use finger muscle to play, and then you're going to hurt yourself. So in all things we do, we have to find the opposite and equal motion. Whatever we are doing, find the opposite and apply it so that you can go forward. Again, if I was to punch you, I wouldn't start the punch from here. I'd start it from here. If I was to poke your eye out, I wouldn't start it from here, and I wouldn't use my tiny little finger muscle. But but I would do this and poke your eye out like that. And I might even use my hip and legs to do it to get more momentum and more force and cause more damage to your eye. The other problem people have is it's called a dual muscular pull. As I said earlier, you can't do two things at the same time. You can either flex or extend. But what people do with their fingers is they do employ two muscles at the same time, and they create what are called dual muscular pulls. And they do this by flexing some fingers and extending others. Pianists and typists do it by extending a pinky up in the air while typing, or they curl the finger while typing, or they stick their thumb out while they do other things. So if you just wiggle your fingers like this, you'll feel it's kind of effortless. You know, flex, extend, flex, extend, flex, extend. Now hold your thumb out and flex, extend, and you can feel a little bit of tension. Hold your pinky out and flex, extend. You can feel some tension. All the fingers want to move in the same direction at the same time. If you isolate any finger and do an opposite motion, then you're going to get a dual muscular pull. Here's another example. If you wave bye-bye, it's very effortless when all fingers go in the same direction at the same time. Now, hold one finger up and then flex with the others. And do you feel the tension? Well, that's called a dual muscular pull. If you were to abduct the fingers, which means to spread them out, and now wave bye-bye, you'd feel the dual muscular pull. Or if you make a claw, you can feel the dual muscular pull in that way. So abducting and adducting and flexing and extending are not things you are supposed to do at the same time. There are actually several movements when playing the piano that you can employ to avoid doing dual muscular pulls. I'm not going to get into that in this video because they would require too much time, and it doesn't apply to everybody. If you're not a pianist or a typist and you're getting your tendinitis from another source, it's not going to help you to go into that detail. If you are a pianist or a typist and you think that you're moving improperly and that's what's causing your tendinitis or carpal tunnel syndrome, then I strongly urge you to find somebody who can teach you the proper movements of playing. And the key here is to learn all of the movements. You can't isolate one movement to fix your problem because every movement has an equal and opposite movement. And the movements of walking arm, forward shift, forearm rotation, up and down and in and out, all those movements have to work together at the same time. And if you isolate one movement, cause problems with another movement, and then you're not going to heal yourself. You're only going to cause or create more problems. And that applies also to using game modules. If you are holding a game module and using just your thumbs, you are creating dual muscular pulls. Because some of the fingers are flexing and you're abducting and adducting. The thumb's flexor is here, and the thumb's abductor is here. And the abductors are weak muscles. You know, these are weak muscles. To do this, you're using the weakest muscle of the hand. And if you do that a couple of times, you'll immediately feel fatigue. And that's the thumb's weakest muscle. And piano players use the weakest muscle to play. And you don't need to use the thumb. All you need is forearm rotation. To use the thumb, you play from the elbow. And most pianists or typists don't use the elbow to play. They use the abductor, and it's a weak muscle. The other problem with the abductor is if you cross the thumb under into the palm, which most pianists are taught to do that, and then flex the fingers, you are creating a dual muscular pull. And you're also, these two tendons intersect. And when you cross thumb under and play the finger down, you are grinding the two tendons together. So crossing the thumb under is a bad thing. Teachers who teach to cross the thumb under into the palm, go find another teacher. Any teacher that teaches you to abduct to play the thumb down onto the keyboard, find another teacher. Dump that teacher. So avoiding dual muscular pulls is actually quite easy. You just need to know how to move and stop doing that. The problem with being healthy and not having an injury is that you don't know what it feels like to move improperly, because the body adapts. You can train yourself. You could build up the required muscle and strength to do things improperly. Problem is, if you do improper movement too much, which is misuse and overuse, when you combine misuse and overuse, then you're going to have a problem. And only people who have done that will actually be able to benefit from what I'm saying. So if you were to ring a doorbell, most people would flex their fingers and extend this finger and press the doorbell. And that's not a problem if you're healthy, if you're not in pain. But if you already have long flexor tendonitis and you do that, that would cause tremendous pain. If you were to pick up a pen and use just 2 fingers to do it, that can create a lot of pain to somebody who already has flexor tendonitis. If you were to pick up a coffee cup the same way, that can cause tremendous pain, but you got to pick it up the proper way. So the right way to ring a doorbell is to keep all 5 fingers extended together. So when you press the doorbell, you can either slightly extend this finger, or use the middle finger and press the doorbell. But you don't press it from the wrist and you don't press it from the fingers. You press it from the elbow or the shoulder. And that's what presses the doorbell. Why use these tiny little weak muscles to do something when you got all these big strong muscles to do? The reason why some of our muscles are strong and some are weak is that we use our muscles to battle gravity. Right now I'm sitting on this chair and I'm not doing anything to sit here. Gravity is doing all the work. So I don't need to press harder into the chair to sit. Gravity does it for me. When you're walking up a flight of stairs, you're using your strong quadricep muscles to step up because you're fighting gravity. However, when you go down the stairs, you would use your weak hamstring muscles to go down because now you're going in the opposite direction. But you don't need to use your hamstring muscles because the hamstrings are 1, weak, but 2, gravity does it for you. As you step down, you let gravity bring your whole body mass or weight down. Next step, gravity. Same thing with your bicep muscles. Biceps are very strong because we have to lift up. When playing the piano, we use the bicep to lift up. When playing down, we have the triceps in the back, and those are very weak muscles. Any bodybuilder will tell you the triceps are weak, and they work at making them stronger, but you don't need strong triceps, because in order to put this pen down, I don't need a lot of muscle in the tricep to go down to do it. All I need to do is just relax my arm and let gravity bring the pen down. I don't need muscle to bring the pen down. The only muscle I do use is, again, the bicep muscle to control how fast or how hard it comes down. But in order to play the piano, I don't need to use tricep muscle to press into the key. That's another thing. As I'm sitting here, gravity is holding me down. I don't need to press into the bench I'm sitting on because all the weight I need to sit down is there, and it's provided by gravity. In order to play the piano, I just allow enough weight of gravity to press my hand, to allow my finger to press the key down. And right now, I'm resting up. I'm using my biceps to hold my arm up. I'm not pressing down with my triceps. So I don't need to use the triceps at all. So my dog usually comes behind me, and when I'm playing the piano, and she'll stick her nose under my hand and lift it up because I'm not pressing down, I'm resting down. I'm resting up, actually. My bicep is holding my hand up, and I'm not pressing into the key. If I press into the key, I'm not going to get any more sound. Nothing more is going to happen. If I'm typing on the keyboard, after I press the key down, I don't have to press down anymore because pressing down is not going to create, it's not going to bolden the letter or make the letter bigger or do anything. Pressing down does not do anything. So after you play your notes, I'm not pressing down. My hand is effortless and can easily come up. And if you're pressing down, you can't move up to go to the next note. So that's another reason why pianists can't play well, because they're pressing down. The problem with pressing down is that as you press down, you are putting a lot of pressure in the joints and into the tendons. Again, the body is not designed to go down because gravity takes us down. Body is designed for up. All of our strength is in our up muscles. It's not in the down muscles. Another fallacy is stretching. A lot of coaches and music teachers, in an effort to teach you or to get you to warm up, they will tell you you need to stretch. Well, stretching is not your friend. Stretching is not good. What happens when you stretch? You are creating micro tears in the muscles and possibly in the tendon. When you tear muscle tissue, The body's natural response is to rush blood to that site where the tear is. And that gives you the illusion of warming up. When you stretch muscles, you tear the tissue, blood rushes to the site, and you think you are feeling warmer. But really what's happening is blood is rushing to the site, blood is warm, and blood is beginning the repair process. So athletes who stretch, you're damaging tissue that you're about to use in whatever sport you are engaged in. You are also at a weakened state because your muscles are now weak. If you want to warm up, if you need to warm up, warming up and isolating a body part is not going to warm you up. So what you need to do if you want to warm up as an athlete, as a musician, you need to warm up the whole body by sitting in a warm room, wearing a lot of clothing, wearing warm clothing. The body needs to be warmed up, not an isolated body part. And you're not going to warm up by stretching. Tendons have a low blood supply to them. When you tear a tendon, the body can't rush blood directly to the tendon, the site of the damaged tendon, because there's no blood supply going to the tendon. So the body's initial quick fix response is to put scar tissue there. And one of the things we know is that scar tissue does not stretch, and scar tissue does not heal quickly. It can take 6 months to 2 years for scar tissue to actually heal and be replaced by good tissue. And the next time you stretch, and physical therapists will sometimes prescribe stretching on tendons in order to heal the tendons, but that doesn't heal the tendon, it just tears the existing scar tissue, which then the body's natural response is to put more scar tissue there. So you're just building scar tissue upon scar tissue. And that happens to us daily as musicians and athletes and typists. However, the damage is so minuscule, they're called micro tears because they're so small, that they have time to heal themselves. What carpal tunnel syndrome really is the tendons becoming so irritated and inflamed that they expand. The inflammation expands. That's what tendinitis means, inflammation of the tendon. And the tendon has no place to go because there's bones on this side of the wrist, and there's like this band here, there's a transverse carpal ligament. The ligament crosses the carpal tunnel. And the median nerve is in there too. So when the tendons expand or inflame, there's no place to go, so they press on the median nerve. The median nerve isn't happy because it's being crushed. And that's what gives us the tingling and the numbness, because the nerve is actually being crushed. So what the doctor does is he'll prescribe anti-inflammatories to take the inflammation down. But that's not going to work if you are continuing to move improperly. You're only going to create more inflammation, and the drugs won't work. Or the inflammation will come back when you stop taking the drugs. The doctor may have you wear splints. Wearing splints isn't going to solve the problem because the body is designed to move. Even a bend in the wrist has a noble place in the repertoire of movement. And if you wear a brace, you're not going to have that movement. Every movement has an equal and opposite movement, as I said, but also every part of the body is connected to another part of the body. In order to move my finger from here to here, I'm going to be using hundreds of muscles to do that, from the back to the stomach, to my feet, to my shoulder, my arm, my forearm. There are hundreds of movements or muscles that come into play just to do these movements. If you isolate one of them by wearing a wrist brace, you're gonna, in order to move, you're going to use the smaller muscles to do things, and eventually you're going to create tensions in other places. The body is designed to move as a whole. You can't isolate a part by putting a brace or a cast on it. And if you do that, you're looking to create problems in other places. Any doctor that prescribes a brace, go see another doctor. Any doctor that prescribes anti-inflammatories, go see another doctor. If a doctor prescribes physical therapy, well, that's kind of okay if you get a physical therapist who knows what they're doing and will treat the problem, which is your movement, which is isolating a finger or not playing from the elbow, or not having enough opposite motion or gravity, or you're pressing into a key or something. And it takes a good physical therapist to sleuth out what your real problem is and not treat the symptom. Building more muscle is not the problem. Using the muscles that you have already is the problem. You're misusing yourself. If you have a nail in your shoe, and you go see your doctor and he treats you with Band-Aids, aspirin, anti-inflammatory, or treats the symptom, which is the punctured foot, he may tell you the rest. Take 2 weeks off from walking and eventually it'll heal, which is true. However, when you put that shoe back on, that nail is still there and it's still going to puncture your foot again, and the problem didn't go away. The symptoms went away, but now the symptoms are back because you still have the same problem. The solution is not to treat the symptom of the bloody, painful foot. The solution is to take the nail out of your shoe. If you're driving your car and your tires wear down every 6 months and you go to your mechanic and he says, oh, you need new tires because these are worn down. Well, no, getting new tires is not the solution. It's fixing the alignment in your car. The alignment is off in the car, which causes the tires to wear prematurely or unevenly. So getting new tires is not the solution. That's the symptom. Fixing the alignment of the car is the solution. So when you go to a physical therapist, if they're not fixing the alignment of your hand and what you're doing and how you use your body, then they're treating the symptom and not the problem. Don't treat symptoms, treat the problem. You want to warm up the body, don't stretch. Warm up the physical body. Warm up your blood. Warm up your blood. Warm up the whole body. Don't warm up an isolated body part. So if you have a coach or a teacher that wants you to stretch to warm up or isolates a body part to warm up, go find another teacher, get another coach. Those people are just creating damage to your body. If you have difficulty skiing in powder, because the powder will catch your edges and it'll cause you to fall, the secret to skiing in powder is to ski with your legs and your skis parallel. If both of your legs are together and both of your skis are together, that's called parallel. A lot of people are taught to ski in the snowplow method, where the tips of your skis are together and you ski this way and you steer on your outside edges of your skis. Problem is you can't ski in powder like that because you're going to catch your edges and you're going to fall. And you're going to tear the ACL ligament in your knee if you fall inward. So instead of having 4 edges, the outside, the inside, and the other outside, you'll ski with 2 edges, the outside and the outside. And then you can ski on 1 edge at a time. And that'll give you power, and that'll give you complete control over your skis and your body. When you divide the legs and the skis, then you're going to run into trouble because now you got 4 edges. And if 1 edge catches, you're in trouble. You're going down. Same thing applies to playing the piano or typing. The fingers cannot work independently. All the fingers have to work as part of the one hand. The one hand has to work as part of the one forearm. The one forearm works as part of the arm and shoulder. It's all one, and as one you play the piano that way. Before you can move up, you have to actually play down. As I said, when you're casting a fishing pole, you got a backswing, then forward swing. Well, when playing the piano, if you're going to play up, you got to first play down in order to play up. And if you're up here and you want to play down, you got to first play up to play down. When you're walking through high grass or deep water or deep snow, you know that you can't just walk through the snow or the water, that you need to lift up to get through it. Playing the piano is the same thing. You can't play laterally or horizontally. You need to play vertically. It's in the up that we play down. When walking, it's in the up that we can walk, step down. Even when you're walking downstairs, you lift your foot up to step down. Up to step down. When you're walking upstairs, you need to lift your foot up and higher than the next step in order to come down on the step. Above the step, down on the step. Playing the piano is the same thing. In order to play down on the key, you can't just move to it. You can't force your way into the key. You have to come up and attack it from above. Singers who sing flat, they're taught that they need to go slightly above the note and come down on top of it. Game consoles are a whole different beast. When you're playing with those things, you got to stop playing with the thumbs. Or if you're going to use the thumbs, then rotate. Use your forearm. Use your elbow to rotate into the... it's better than damaging your thumbs for life. So the musician needs to learn how to move only in the medium range of motion. This is the extreme range of motion, this is the extreme range of motion. And you need to avoid moving in the extreme range of motion and only move in the medium range of motion, because that's where the power is. That's where the alignment is, where all the bones and joints and tendons are aligned in a perfect sequence so that you have power and strength. If you break that alignment, if you break that fulcrum, then you're going to lose power and you're going to injure yourself. So the medium range of motion is easy to find if you know where to look for it. And unfortunately, teachers don't teach that. So here are a few examples of finding the medium range of motion. So if you're playing on a piano or typing, instead of isolating a finger or just playing into the keys or using the tiny muscles of the finger, you need to use other parts of the body which have more power and can get you where you need to be. So you can use the elbow to forward shift into a key. You can use the shoulder to move in and out into a key. You can use your bicep and employ gravity or arm weight to play into a key. You can use the forearm or the elbow to rotate into a key. And these are the movements which will save you and prevent further injury or allow you to play while you're actually injured, because you're not using the muscles and tendons which injured you in the first place or are currently injured. So when you ski in deep powder and you're skiing in parallel, what you need to do is unweigh yourself. And unweighing yourself is a very simple concept. As both legs are together and you land in the ice or snow on your left, your knees bend. But as you hit the ground, you extend your knees again, and as a result, you are pushing your body back upward. And that's the unweighing yourself process. I don't want to say jump, but you unweigh yourself, and as you extend your legs, you flex them back underneath yourself again, and you shift all of your weight and your body to the right side. You extend your legs down into the powder, and then as you go back down on this side, you flex your legs, and then as you extend them again, you unweigh yourself, and you keep going back and forth. If you watch professional skiers ski in parallel, you'll notice that they're flexing their legs and extending their legs, and they seem to be magically moving left and right through the powder, and they're just unweighing themselves. It's a very simple concept, and you use the same principles when you play the piano. Playing the piano is a constant unweighing of your arms so that you can move to the next notes. In everything we do, we unweigh ourselves. So when you're pushing that vacuum cleaner, you got to find the push and where the energy of the push comes from, and not have it in the wrist or the fingers. And then when you push, you got to find the other balance of unweighing or the opposite motion, the equal and opposite motion. Everything we do is equal and opposite. Everything we do has an unweighing. It's in the unweighing that we can relax again. So when you're playing the piano, if you are pressing into the key, at the very least when you unweigh yourself, you get to relax as you're coming back up before you go back down with tension. But hopefully you're not going down with tension. The same principle applies for when you're swinging a hammer. If you're going to swing a hammer, you're going to backswing, then you're going to forward swing. But when you hit the object, your hand is already following through. In other words, you're not using all of your energy to go into that object. You've already relaxed, and the hammer hits the object and does all the work, and your arm is relaxed. If you don't relax your arm as you hit, all of that energy which goes into the nail is going to backfire into your wrist, and you're going to hurt yourself. So there's that relaxation when you hit. Think of playing the piano, the same thing as using a hammer to hit a nail. Your energy doesn't go into the keyboard and then back into your arm. It just goes into the keyboard and you let it go. You don't let it come back into you.